And good morning, everybody. Welcome. David, wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. We're on the air. We're on the air. Welcome to Hoops HD's Championship Week Video Notebook. This is our Day 5 edition, our Day 5 recap, I believe. Am I close to right, at least? I'm your host, Chad Sherwood, joined by David Griggs, the sleeping puppet to my side there, John Stalika down below us. This is the show where we go over some news and notes, we review the conference tournament games, we preview the next days, and we update our NCAA tournament survival board, among other things. But we start off, as always, with our newest feature for this year, our mailbag.
Okay. Oh, before we do that, Chad, I just wanted to welcome the selection committee members who are watching this show.
Oh, yes, we may be going on in the room right now, although they don't actually start meeting till next week, David, but we could be on
that's true, yeah. I mean,
they could be at home watching.
I mean, they're watching.
Saturday morning.
They are. I know they are.
I got a couple of mailbag questions today, and I guess Sleek.
Let me throw a stupid mailbag again.
Yes, a stupid mailbag. We got a couple good ones though. Actually, Sleek, I'm gonna throw this first one over to you. This comes from Susan in Orlando, Florida. Going to be one of the first round sites this year. She wants to know if you could change anything in the way the NCAA tournament works, what would you change?
Oh, this is an easy one.
Oh, there's so many ways I could probably go about this, but I think the easiest thing to do would just be to shrink the field back down to 64 teams right here.
Ding, ding, ding. You got the correct answer.
Ding.
500 points. No? David, you agree? You got the right answer?
Yes, and if we're going to keep it at 68, nothing against Dayton. I think they do as good a job with it as you could expect them to, but go ahead and send them to the sites they're playing into in the first four. It's better to play 2 games in 2 days at one place than 2 games in 3 days at 2 places and be zigzagging across the country and have to get your team to 2 different places and your fans to do different places and to do it all in about 36 hours. But really, it just needs to go back to 64.
David, I got one more mailbag question. I'll throw this one over to you. This comes from Alex from Chicago, maybe like a Northwestern fan. He's maybe a Southern Illinois fan. He's commenting about the Southern Illinois Loyola Chicago game today. Says that made a comment here that Barry Hinson at halftime made a statement. He said that his team couldn't hit a bull in the butt with a bass fiddle. And
that is the quote of the year. I did a spit take. I mean, I really did.
But David, so did your intern.
David, the question from Alex though is David, are you able to hit a bull in the butt with a bass fiddle?
I don't have any arms. No.
Okay, Alex, the answer is no. David cannot hit a bull in the butt with a bass fiddle either. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to actually, let's do some news and notes first, I think. We had one significant regular season game tonight, actually, going on with all these great conference tournament games, but West Virginia knocked off Iowa State tonight, John. Does that affect anything for you in terms of either one of those teams as we go ahead?
I mean, it probably puts West Virginia closer to the right side of being protected feet again, because I don't really see how they're going to take a damaging loss as far as Big 12 tournament play goes unless they were to face Oklahoma or Texas, which I don't believe is likely.
One other note that came out tonight actually as well, it became official. We've been predicting that would happen all year because of, but it became official today that Hawaii's rehearing, I guess, has been concluded on their postseason ban for this year that had originally been imposed and then had been taken back, and they will not be receiving a postseason ban, so they are 100% officially eligible for the NCAA tournament. But David, we made a little bit of a mistake in the Big West all season long, and that we got to apologize for.
Right.
We kind of missed, kind of flew under our radar even, but Cal State Northridge is not eligible for the NCAA tournament this year. They actually had a self-imposed ban last year, I believe, and got one more year of it thrown on by the NCAA this year for a lot of cheating allegations that went on related to academics there.
So it wasn't because of the upside-down floor.
That was not because of the upside down floor, but the net result is
didn't help.
The net result. That result is we actually eliminated UC Santa Barbara last night from our survival board. We should not have done so. We apologize to that. The Gauchos, they are back in. Northridge is off.
And it's important for the committee to know that UC Santa Barbara is back on the survival board. Albeit
Dave,
not italicized.
Yeah, David seems to be losing you there in the audio. I'll get you back here. But
can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we got you.
Oh,
okay. But we also have a big game coming up tomorrow night, David. One final regular season game. They're billing it as the rematch. Been all over the TVs. Duke, North Carolina. I think you had a little bit of information for us about that game.
Well, yeah, it's I think it's like the 1000th rematch or something like that. I mean, it only happens about twice every year, sometimes 3 times. But big rivalry game, ACC. It's North Carolina chasing a 1 seed, Duke trying to chase a protected seed, and yet these two schools are 8 miles apart. They're just 8 miles apart. And
only 8.
Only 8 miles separate the two. And if you go, more amazingly, if you go back and check all the records and all the past, they have never met in the NCAA tournament.
Never. I'm pretty sure Penn and Harvard are a lot more than 8 miles apart because that's the real significant rivalry tomorrow night.
Right. This is Duke. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead, though, and we're going to hit a little bit about the Ivy League at the end of the show. But let's go ahead and start by pulling up the screen share here. Go into the conference tournaments. Do we see it first of all? We don't have a blank screen like we had last night, correct?
No, we see it.
Okay. We're going to start off in the Ohio Valley Conference, which was semifinal night, where we expected Belmont to cruise into the championship, and something else happened.
We forgot that Ray Harper is coaching at Jacksonville State now.
Ray Harper, who took Western Kentucky out in miraculous runs a couple of years in a row in the Sun Belt to win that tournament, and now he's doing it again at Jacksonville State, David.
Yeah, I think Ray Harper holds the all-time record for conference tournament wins after a really bad regular season. Now, to be fair to Jacksonville State, we have our Under the Radar show, and we spent a little time talking about Martin, but very little. And I don't think we've talked about Jacksonville State at all. But when you look at what they've done this year, I believe, 9 of their 10 seasons coming into this year had been losing seasons, not storied at all, never been in the NCAA tournament. And here they are, a winning season this year. If they win tomorrow, it's their 20th win. It would be only the second time ever they've won 20 games and their first ever NCAA tournament appearance. So for a school that even we ignored all year, big congratulations to Jacksonville State. You hate it for Belmont. They had a fantastic regular season. We're clearly the most dominant team, and in a lot of ways, it probably feels like it's not fair that one loss knocks them out. But, again, they need to get inside the bubble to avoid that, and they'll be playing in the NIT. But still, a great story. Both these teams, really. I'll let somebody else take UT Martin, who's another great story. But I'm actually really looking forward to this game tomorrow.
To be fair to Jacksonville State, we did acknowledge their opener because they actually won at Tulsa.
But the other game there, UT Martin, is another team who has never made the NCAA tournament. Had 2 or 3 years in a row now. I think they've had 3 20-win seasons in a row now. Really been coming on strong these last few years. Has not been able to get over the hump and get that first tournament bid ever. Now they are playing Jacksonville State tomorrow, so we will have a first-timer for the very first team that gets in. But, Sleeka, this was a pretty good game with Murray State. I think that I just saw a Murray State team that looked like it was playing its 3rd game in 3 days, in which one of them had gone double overtime.
Yep, I mean, it didn't immediately kick in for the Moorhead game, but I don't think Austin Peay was playing any overtime games last year when they were making their run.
Yeah, I don't recall if they did any overtime, but that Austin Peay run, that's just how amazing that 4 games in 4 days that Austin Peay did last year was, because Murray State just ran out of gas tonight, right. And now Martin, Jacksonville State. None of us picked either one of these teams to win this tournament. So let me ask Sleeka, who do you think wins tomorrow?
I think it is going to be Jacksonville State with Ray Harper and the Witness Protection Program making their first NCAA tournament bid as far as basketball goes. I mean, I know their fans like to travel a lot for football, but where were you tonight for the basketball game?
Yeah. David, you agree with him? You go with Ray Harper's?
I think so. They just looked really good tonight. And you mentioned 4 games in 4 days. He did it at least twice when he was at Western Kentucky. The 4 games in 4 days. This would be the 3rd time.
Well, no, he only do 3. He only do 3. They didn't play.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So it would be 3 games in 3 days. But I think Jack State gets it done. But don't count out UT Martin. They've looked good all year long.
Yeah, they have. They were probably the second best team in the OVC at the end of the day. They were the number 2 seed as well. But let's go over to the other conference that was in the semifinal round today, the Big South. This championship game won't be until Sunday. But we started with Campbell and Radford, which we mentioned that we thought this would be a good game. The 2 teams split during the regular season, and Campbell kind of ran away with it, John, didn't they?
Yep, and it looks even the final score doesn't indicate just how much of a runaway this became in the second half.
Right, but perhaps the game of the night, David, was the nightcap there. Winthrop and Gardner-Webb just closed the entire way. Just an amazing game.
This was a fantastic game, and it just goes to show you, like, the game was at Winthrop, and the crowd was partial to Winthrop, but Gardner-Webb had their fans there, and it was back and forth. It seesawed back and forth. Neither team could run away from the other win. It went in the overtime, and it actually came down to a final shot at the end of overtime that could have tied it. It was just a really amazing game, a really exciting game in a really good atmosphere with very high stakes. The winner, one of the stakes, not only advancing to the championship game, but getting to host the championship game. So it was just really fun to watch. And you hate it for Gardner-Webb, but you like it for Winthrop, a team that has been kind of screwed in recent years because of this tournament format.
And Gardner-Webb had actually led for, I think, most of the first half. And I think it was about 50-50 as far as leads being exchanged in the second half.
Right. So now we've got Winthrop and hosting Campbell. Campbell looking for their first tournament bid since 1992. I believe it'll only be their second bid ever as well. So, definitely not a team that we expected to see in this finals. Wouldn't have been shocked if it was Asheville or Liberty, maybe even Radford, but Campbell was probably the only Presbyterian in that top half of the bracket, the only team that was more surprising than Campbell here.
And the fun fact I heard in the email thread was I think at one point Campbell also had the Sunday exception that BYU has, but I don't believe that's the case anymore.
Yeah, David, we actually sent you 3 years ago. We sent you up to Bowie's Creek to confirm that, and you did get that confirmed.
We did. It was confirmed. They got back right away, and they have actually. They actually gave examples of where they had played on Sundays. So.
And this championship game will be Sunday, among other things.
Right.
So, that will no longer apply to Campbell. They have changed their school policies and will play Sunday games. Let's go over to the Missouri Valley Conference, which was in the quarterfinal round today. And normally one of the best conference tournaments year in, year out, Arch Madness. Maybe the Missouri State Northern Iowa game to end the day was a pretty decent one, but other than that, we had a kind of a snoozer again.
Yeah, 2 snoozers yesterday. Illinois State was good up until about the under 8 timeout in the first half, and then Illinois State opened it up. Winthrop just did horribly unspeakable things.
Wichita.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Wichita. It's late.
But
there
were. I was going to say there was also a block party going on in the Illinois State Evansville game because I think the Aces were actually blocked more time than David's credit card in a restaurant.
Right. Well, the highlight of this tournament was Barry Henson's quote at the half.
Yes, which we already discussed at the top of the show. But tomorrow's semifinal day. John, do you think we can get things a little bit more interesting here with Illinois State, Southern Illinois, and Wichita State, Missouri State?
I mean, if I were going based on today's events, I'd say no.
David, you agree with him? You think these 2 teams are about to cruise into the finals now?
Well, Southern Illinois State should be good because there is a little bit of heat to that game. Not a lot, but I mean, it's a fun conference rivalry, and I would not write out Southern Illinois, especially if they can shoot a little bit better. But I just think Wichita is going to blast Missouri State.
I kind of agree with you there. today was the beginning of the quarterfinals days in the MAC tournament. It was also the Mac and Cheese Festival up in Albany. So, David, did you get a chance to get up there to get some mac and cheese?
I did. It was delicious.
Okay.
Well, apparently, like, I was disappointed in the alcohol selection, but the mac and cheese was pretty good.
Monmouth took care of Niagara. They did deal with an injury. Micah Seaborn went down with he's had problems. He's been dealing with meniscus problems all year. They do have tomorrow off, actually. Their semifinals aren't until Sunday. Last I heard, they were hoping he'd be able to play again on Sunday. It's not a tear or anything, but so Monmouth dealing with some injury issues. Still rolled over Niagara, though, despite that.
Right. And St. Peter's, I thought I was going to look like a genius. I picked Canisius to win that game. They were behind the whole game, but they had a shot to tie it and even win it down the stretch.
Yeah, they actually pulled it within one after being down, I think, 15 or 20 early on.
Yeah.
John, well, we've got this screen up here. The other two quarterfinals are coming up tomorrow, Siena Fairfield and Rider Iona. Any thoughts about those two games?
I mean, we're not going to get the Iona-Manhattan rivalry that we're hoping for, but Iona and Rider should also be a nice matchup along with Siena and Fairfield. I mean, I still think it's going to be Iona and Siena moving on.
Yeah. I think Iona moves into the finals. So
you think Iona's going to take care of St. Peter's as well as well as Rider then?
Yeah, and I don't even think they're going to wait until Sunday. I think they're just going to do both of them tomorrow.
Okay. Things tipped off tonight in the Colonial where we had the 8-9 game, which was actually a pretty good game, Delaware at Hofstra.
Yeah.
James Madison Drexel, not so much. It probably wasn't even as close as that 10-point final.
Yeah, Drexel's coach left early.
Zach Spiker?
Yeah. Oh, boy.
David, tomorrow's quarterfinal day when things start getting a little more interesting in the Colonial. Wilmington and Charleston both starting off, as well as the Bill and Mary versus Elon game and the Towson Northeastern. Do you see any upsets coming?
I don't. I think Wilmington handles Delaware easily. Bill and Mary Elon should be a good game. It wouldn't surprise me if Elon got the win. I like this Towson team. I think they're capable of winning, of getting to the championship game. They've really played well down the stretch. And because I'm saying that, they'll probably lose to Northeastern.
And this is a Northeastern team that, among other things, beat Michigan State this year on the road. So you gotta. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. I think that may even be the better game, John. Do you agree?
I mean, we'll get into it a little bit later on, but I don't think Charleston has to worry about a home court disadvantage like a certain team in the Motor City.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I think you just mentioned the Horizon. Let's turn right over to the Horizon League now, where Youngstown State kind of almost surprisingly took care of Cleveland State fairly easily, and then Milwaukee having the disadvantage of having to play Detroit in Detroit as a 10 seed who's been struggling all season, and really was not fair to Milwaukee, was it, John? Or David?
No, it was not fair at all. And had this game been anywhere other than Detroit, I think Milwaukee would have handled them rather easily.
Yeah, instead of Milwaukee came up with a very narrow 85-60 win, John.
Yes, yeah. Right down to the wire there.
Yeah, it was just a destruction here by by the lower seeded team playing almost a road game. Quarterfinals start tomorrow, but we're only going to see two of the quarterfinals tomorrow: the Youngstown State Oakland and the Valpo Milwaukee game tomorrow. So, John, do you want to predict an upset with either the one or the two seed getting upset tomorrow?
I mean, it's tempting to say Milwaukee given the injury to Alec Peters, but I don't think they're going to be overcoming Valpo.
No, I don't see that.
But at the same time, I think it's going to be difficult for Northern Kentucky to beat Wright State 3 straight times this year.
That game won't be till Sunday, actually. But
right. But
still, that point still stands.
Yeah.
David, you had a point?
Oh, no, but I was just going to concur with that, but I picked NKU to win this, and I'm standing by it. Even if they lose, I'm still picking them.
Even if they lose on Sunday. Well, they won't go down tomorrow, so they have another day at least that they're going to survive. Let's head over to the SoCon, which was also first round day. Where congrats to the Citadel advancing. It's been about 3 years since they won a conference.
Yeah, it's been a banner. I think they did win one a few years ago with an RPI of about 340 or something.
Yeah.
But it's been a banner year for the Citadel, finishing as high as ninth. Very, very rarely do they finish that high. And then advancing all the way to the quarterfinals. Very, very rarely do they get this far. Yeah. Big year for the Citadel, making strides. And we'll see. Well, if they win tomorrow, it'll be very amazing.
Not so much for VMI, who got beat by Samford. We've got quarterfinals coming up tomorrow. John, we discussed the Wofford-Chattanooga. It may not even be an upset if Wofford wins that game. But what about this Samford-Furman game? Do you think we could see a 2-7 upset here?
I'm not sure we're going to see it this time, but if this were back in January, I would have definitely favored Samford over Furman. I'm actually going to be keeping an eye on Mercer and East Tennessee State.
Well, David, I'm going to predict the upset, actually. I think Samford has the capability to win this game.
I think they do too, and I know they finished 7th, but they were very, very competitive against just about everyone in the league. Even though the results didn't show it, they were right in there, had a lot of chances to win. I thought they looked really loose today. I think, if anything, playing today will help them tomorrow because they're bringing in a lot of momentum to that. I agree with you. I was going to pick that upset, thinking that you all would think I was nuts, but I think Samford wins tomorrow.
Okay. Well, let's.
One more tidbit about this conference. I meant to mention it yesterday. We mention it every year. It's just an interesting bit of trivia. It is the oldest, what would you call it, recurring current tournament of any kind. The first SoCon tournament was in 1921. It predates the NCAA by 18 years, and they're still playing it. So that's
correct.
Cool.
And you know, I mean, and a lot of the teams that you see in the SEC and the ACC these days came through the SoCon at one point or another.
Yeah,
I think West Virginia also came through the SoCon as well.
Right, and there were tournaments before the SoCon, but we're not playing them, any of those anymore. This is the oldest one that's still being played.
Last couple of games that were played tonight, the late games were the West Coast Conference. They actually were a pair of fairly good games. Pacific Pepperdine, Portland, San Diego, and the two teams won the right to go on and play Gonzaga and St. Mary's tomorrow.
But this was still the night for Damon Stoudemire and Terry Porter in their rookie runs in the West Coast tournament.
Yeah,
but not much of a reward. And David, I assume that we're not looking at either one of those to pull an upset tomorrow.
No, and you know, good games tonight. You like to see the effort. You like to see that they wanted to play those one more game. That one more game. But I think that one more game will be their last game.
And I think we do have to shout out to Portland for snapping a 16-game losing streak against WCC foes.
Yeah, they started out the season 2-0, lost their last 16 in a row, now finally won one. But David, I was going to ask you here, the other two games, Santa Clara, San Francisco, BYU, Loyola Marymount, you see an upset, or you see anything about either of those games tomorrow?
I still like I think San Francisco can be better than what they typically were in conference. So if you want to call them beating Santa Clara an upset, I suppose. But other than that, no, I'm not seeing it.
You're not going with LMU over BYU either?
No.
Let's take a look at one other conference that we haven't discussed in a few days here is back in action tomorrow, the Northeast Conference semifinal day.
Love this
one of our favorite leagues here.
Yeah.
Robert Morris is going to be at Mount St. Mary's in the late game. The early game, SFPA, is going to be at Wagner. David, what do you see happening tomorrow?
I have been won over by you. Robert Morris wins tomorrow, and they will be playing at Wagner for the championship, and they'll probably win that.
Really? Because I think SFPA is going to be playing at Mount St. Mary's for the championship. So,
well, no, Robert Morris, you can't pick against them in March. You said it.
I agree with Chad. They've had their moment in the sun.
I gave them a game. I never said they would win multiple games. All I said was they were the Brooklyn team.
Actually, I take that back. A school in Moon Township, I think they've had their moment in the Moon. So.
Right, but Mount St. Mary. I mean, the thing about it is just how great these quarterfinal games were, with the exception of, St. Francis kind of ran away from Bryant, but who knows? I mean, this is – I think you're right. I think it will be Mount St. Mary's. My head tells me that, but I think it might be in the stars that Robert Morris wins and maybe goes all the way to the Sweet 16. Not the Elite Eight. That's the.
I guess what comes down to is I think we're expecting a pair of really good games tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
One more conference that we have not discussed at all yet this season. It starts tomorrow. It's the Summit League. The first two quarterfinals are tomorrow. The 1 seed South Dakota against Western Illinois. The 2 seed North Dakota State against IUPUI. The other two quarterfinals won't be until Sunday. But first of all, John, in terms of those two games tomorrow, do you think South Dakota or North Dakota State is going to be any trouble for an upset?
I don't think there's going to be any trouble tomorrow night, but I think when we get to Sunday, I would take Fort Wayne to pull the upset.
Yeah, and I don't know how big of an upset that is. There's a Fort Wayne team that has won a few big games this year. In fact, I like the 4-5 and 3-6 game. I think will both be good ones. But David, North Dakota State really floundered down the end, really falling apart down the stretch here. What about against IUPUI here?
Well, yeah, they did, and IUPUI certainly lost a lot more than they won, but there were times they actually proved to be rather formidable. I think North Dakota State pulls it together and gets it done, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. Now, South Dakota should run away from Western Illinois. But the other one, don't be surprised if IUPUI hangs around.
David, who do you think wins this tournament?
It could be anybody. I mean, there's so much. It's not that there's a lot of teams that look good that could win. It's almost the other way around. Everybody seems to be beatable. But I guess I'm going to go with the 1 seed South Dakota. It is, while not on their campus, it's in their home state, and they were the first place team, and I think that they're the least beatable out of anyone here.
John?
I hope they enjoy the battle for Mount Rushmore in the semifinals because I still think North Dakota State is going to win this tournament, even with their late season slide.
I don't agree with you. I would like to see South Dakota win this tournament because they've never been in the NCAA tournament before. But I'm going to go maybe a little bit out of a limb here. I'm going to take the 6th seed. I'm going to take Fort Wayne to win this conference.
Wow. Who's also never been.
I think they could beat Omaha. I think North Dakota State is beatable, and then it's just, into the championship game.
I don't know. I mean, you got to keep in mind they needed overtime to get past Indiana.
You're right. Yeah,
I mean, is that really that good? Okay. And they were at home.
Let's forget it. I'm going to South Dakota. You're right. You convinced me.
I'm just wondering why CBS doesn't recognize them as Fort Wayne in the bracket here.
I just want to very, very briefly mention a couple of games that are not in conference tournaments, but are almost conference tournament-like coming up tomorrow as well. First of all, in the Southland, Nicholls State is going to be hosting New Orleans. If they win that, they will get the final spot in the Southland tournament. Given that they're playing the top team in the conference, if they lose that game, then the final spot will go to the winner of a game between Central Arkansas and Northwestern State. So basically an elimination game possibly in the Southland tomorrow. And we'll definitely have an elimination game in the SWAC as Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Mississippi Valley State will be playing for the 8th and final spot in the SWAC tournament. Winner gets it, loser is out. We also have the Ivy League is still a complete mess. The tiebreakers require an advanced degree in mathematics. Took me all day to get them figured out after what happened. But we definitely know what happened tonight was that Cornell and Brown were both eliminated from being able to win from able to get that 4th spot in the Ivy League field. It is either going to be Columbia, Penn, or Dartmouth. Most likely Columbia or Penn, and basically comes out to if either one of those do win tomorrow and the other one loses, they're in. The tiebreakers get very strange should they both win or both lose, though.
Yeah, my favorite part here is Cornell and Brown, teams that are both off the survival board, could actually be deciding who's going to be the 4th and final playoff entrant to some degree.
Yes, it could come down to who wins that game helps decide the tiebreakers. So that game could decide between Columbia and Penn.
Right. What's funny about this league is that they never had tiebreakers. It was the league with no tiebreakers. Now that they have them, they're the most elaborate tiebreakers I have ever seen.
Let's move finally over to the NCAA Tournament Survival Board. This is our board, which after last night had 297 teams remaining. You see, I actually made a mid-afternoon correction there about that Cal State Northridge issue.
Yeah.
But David, what is the point of this board?
Well, it's to assist the selection committee, who we know is watching, and we know who comes here to use this, because it basically lets them know. It serves as a guide. Now, it doesn't tell them what to do. Like, we're not mandating or instructing. We're guiding by telling them what to do. And again, like you see the legend here, the teams in bold are the teams the selection committee needs to take. Like, they will take those teams no matter what, even if they lose the rest of their games. The teams that are just in normal text, those are teams they will not take or even look at. The only way those teams make it in is if they win the automatic bid. And then everybody else that's in italics, that's who they need to discuss. Maybe you take them, maybe you don't. Those are the teams you need to weigh and make a decision on.
However, if any of these bolded teams pull a Jim Herrick and pull themselves out of the running, then all bets are off.
No, you still got to take them.
Let me go ahead and let's update them and see what happened as a result of all the games today, plus the two teams that were eliminated out of the Ivy League. And we are down 20 more teams fell off the board today. Big jump down to 277 teams left here.
Right.
As you can see, as we scroll down, let's take a quick look at some of the conferences that were in action today. You see the Colonial down to only 8 teams. There's Missouri Valley, only 4 teams left, 2 of which are in italics still, David.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, if they lose tomorrow, they're probably not coming off.
And that's still about 80% of Division I teams that are still alive through the first 5 days.
Right.
And you see there's the Ohio Valley way down at the bottom there as well, Jacksonville State and UT Martin. Tomorrow night, one of them will be our first team in bold and caps as an auto bid winner.
Yeah, first team in the field.
But I guess on that note, let me go ahead and pull this on down here, and let me ask each of you if you have any other final thoughts for the evening. John, let me start with you.
We probably should have seen it coming, because in the 4 years that podcasts have been taking place at Hoops HD, the top seed has yet to win the OVC tournament, because I believe you have to go back to 2013 when Belmont was the last 1 seed to win in Nashville. And next year, will it get easier or harder when they have to move to Evansville for their conference tournament?
Interesting choice of places.
Yeah, actually, at Evansville's home campus here, which is not an Ohio Valley team.
Right, but they might be playing in the tournament anyway.
David, your thoughts?
Tomorrow's the last big day. There are games Sunday, of course, of regular season play, and there's quite a bit at stake. In some cases, Georgia Tech and Syracuse, sort of 2 bubblish teams. So, again, even though it's not tournament action, still a lot to be decided for tomorrow. Probably the biggest day of the year, because it's all those regular – it's the normal Saturday load, and Saturday is always a loaded day, plus a lot of elimination games. So, I mean, as great as championship week is, out of all of the individual days of the season, I think this Saturday, along with the opening night, is the day we see the most games.
Yeah,
at least it feels that way.
There are a ton of big games tomorrow. It's going to be a huge day. We're going to be coming on very late tomorrow night, because I think the games go until past 2 a.m. But we're going to do it just to make sure that everyone out there is fully updated as soon as we can. Also, keep an eye on our conference tournaments tab on the website. As tournament fields get announced, they will be put right on there. The MEAC got added last night. The Mid-American came in tonight. Everybody else, other than I believe the Big Ten and the AAC, the American, will be going up sometime tomorrow or maybe by Sunday morning. But
in fact, do you know something, Chad? I just had an extra thought here. We actually are going to have one revival of sorts of the border war, because tomorrow we will have a team from Kansas and a team from Missouri playing.
A team from Kansas and a team from Missouri. Okay, go ahead.
In St. Louis.
All right, yeah. Oh. Wichita State, Missouri State. Yeah, you're right. It's not quite the real border war. We all know that the real border war is played between Colorado State and Wyoming.
The Front Range.
Yeah.
On behalf of John Slika, David Griggs down there, I do want to once again thank you all for joining us. I'm Chad Sherwood, and we will talk to you again sometime late tomorrow night or early Sunday morning. Take care.
Yeah.